What if Albert Wesker was in The Boys? First off, we are using Resident Evil 5 Wesker, not that shitty live-action one from Welcome to Raccoon City. First off, Wesker isn't just another soup. Unlike most of the characters created by Vought International, his abilities come from viral experimentation, not Compound V. That already makes him unpredictable and harder to control. Vought couldn't just own him the way they do others. Wesker's abilities. His strength, speed, durability, healing factor and being master manipulator make him a formidable opponent. However, compared to someone like Homelander, Wesker is slightly weaker in raw destructive power but way smarter and more strategic and much more patient and calculating. Vought would absolutely try to bring him in as a premium asset. But Wesker doesn't take orders, he'd infiltrate them instead. Within weeks, he'd likely have blackmail on executives or even control of internal operations. Characters like Billy Butcher and Huey Campbell rely on exploiting weaknesses. Wesker barely has any, and worse, he'd figure them out first. Butcher might respect him. Right before realizing he can't outplay him. Now Homelander versus Wesker. This is the big one. In a straight fight, Homelander likely wins after a brutal battle due to his laser vision. But that's in just powers alone. Homelander is so used to being stronger than everyone. And considering he almost died to a metal straw delivered by someone of equal strength, I'm sure someone who is faster, smarter and much more tactical can put him down for good. Now Wesker's greatest threats would actually vary. First is Homelander. Raw strength, flight and laser vision are on another level. Soldier Boy is arguably even more dangerous to Wesker than Homelander in certain. Butcher after he got his Venom-like powers. Queen Maeve isn't as flashy as Homelander, but she's tough enough to matter. However, Wesker would speed blitz her. Some people might say Victoria Newman. Remember, she couldn't pop Homelander's head. So what good could she do against a guy faster and smarter? Now taking over Vought would be something Wesker would be familiar with. Wesker wouldn't kick the door in, he'd walk through it like he already owns the place. In The Boys, taking over Vought International would be a slow, surgical operation. Here's how he'd actually do it. Phase 1, stay invisible, gather everything. Go. Become untouchable before anyone knows he exists. Wesker's first move isn't killing, it's information control. He infiltrates Vought under a false identity, likely as a scientist or executive consultant, hacks internal data, Compound V research, soup files. Learns every weakness of key players like Homelander and Victoria Newman. At this stage, he avoids conflict entirely. If you can't see him, you can't fight him. Phase 2, remove the unpredictable pieces first. Phase 3. Break Homelander. John is basically just a man baby. If Wesker undermines his public image, removes people he depends on, like approval figures, that feeds his paranoia. Homelander without validation becomes unstable, unpredictable. Wesker doesn't win by being the strongest, he wins because he chooses when fights happen. He removes threats before they become problems. He turns enemies against each other. In a world as messy as The Boys, that's basically unstoppable. However, out of everyone in The Boys, there's one person I think would be an actual threat to Wesker. Kimiko. Regeneration versus regeneration both can heal rapidly, which means that a fight between them wouldn't end quickly. Kimiko could keep coming even after brutal damage. That alone makes her more threatening than most mid-tier soups. Ferocity and unpredictability. Kimiko fights like a wild animal. No hesitation. No fear. Extremely aggressive. Wesker prefers controlled engagements, Kimiko disrupts that with sheer chaos. Close quarters lethality. If she gets her hands on him, she can rip, tear, and overwhelm physically. In tight spaces, she's much more dangerous than at range. However, Wesker still has the edge. Speed gap. Wesker is on another level in terms of reflexes and movement. He can dodge bullets and blitz opponents. Kimiko, while fast, isn't that fast. She'd struggle to even land clean hits unless he lets her. Intelligence gap. This is the biggest factor. Wesker wouldn't treat Kimiko like a boss fight, he'd treat her like a problem to solve. Study her healing limits. Use traps, restraint, or environmental kills. Possibly separate her from allies like Frenchie. Wesker would eventually deal with her. He probably wouldn't kill her first, she's not high priority. Instead avoids unnecessary fights with her early on. Uses distractions or other suits to occupy her. When he does engage, he ends it fast and decisively. Most likely method. Immobilization, traps, restraints, then a controlled kill attempt once he understands her healing. Bottom line, if Wesker enters the boys' universe, the story shifts from chaotic superhero satire to something closer to a calculated takeover. Homelander might still be the face of power, but Wesker would quietly become the one pulling the strings. But while I have your attention, can we all agree that Anthony Starr would be a great Albert Wesker?